Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cross Country Conference podcast. I'm your host, Mateo Colson, and today on the show, we have none other than Aiden Maddison joining us. Aiden Maddison is a D1 track and cross country runner for Sacramento State University up in Northern California. And Aiden is really fast, having recorded a time of 3:54 in the metric mile, 14:52 in the 5K, a 30:27 in the 10K, and is only 10 seconds slower in his PR for that same distance in cross country, where he has also run a 24:47 for the 8K. And while he is not one of the more high-profile figures in college running, his presence on the show is a huge passion project of mine, and you guys cannot comprehend how excited I am to have him on here. He and I went to the same high school, and he and his career has been a huge idol for me as I started getting introduced to running and began to fall in love with the sport. So interviewing him is a very strong passion project of mine, and I cannot wait to show you guys the show that we have in store for you today. Thank you. Aiden Maddison, welcome to the Cross Country Conference podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for inviting me onto the podcast.
How's your day been so far?
Been pretty chill. Sundays are pretty chill for me. It's my off day for running. Well, kind of off day. Optional runs, and mostly just wake up and do homework and then watch football the rest of the day. So pretty chill so far.
Nice. I really appreciate you coming on. Ever since I started this project, I've been looking forward to having you on here because for anyone listening, you and I both attended the same high school, and
Yes.
you and your legacy was a big part in me learning about running and getting role models, and just me becoming involved in the running culture and wanting to become better and more knowledgeable about running.
Appreciate the kind words. I mean, I don't think I'm even half. I just give you the advice, and it's up to you to do it. So You've done it. So congratulations to you.
So, as we start, I have a little icebreaker.
Okay.
What's your favorite movie or TV show?
I would say my favorite TV show is Tom and Jerry, but any of the cartoon, like Looney Tunes, kind of that type of TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you mean. You're talking to a SpongeBob fan right here, so.
There you go. I'm a huge SpongeBob guy, too.
Yeah, all right. So, now let's get started talking about running. So, you're a fifth year, correct?
Yeah, fifth year senior.
Okay. How is your running season going so far?
This year has been a little less than ideal. I'm dealing with a couple of injuries, a little hamstring tendon thing, IT band, knee, and then I did sprain my ankle a week and a half ago. So just trying to stay healthy currently. Been doing better, definitely healthy now, and now just going for the fitness part. So
Good to hear. Did you do anything different in preparation for your training for senior year regarding racing or summer training?
nothing too particular different, just like it got pretty hot. It gets pretty hot in the Sacramento summer, so we're up really early, 6 a.m., and it's still 75, 80 degrees out and the sun's not up yet. So just trying to adjust to getting up early in the summer, but it's also nice because we do practice in the morning throughout the season, so it wasn't too much of an adjustment where I could sleep in, where in Sunnyvale, you could sleep in till 10, and, back in high school, we'd practice in the PM. So, doing that and then having to get up at 6:37 to practice every day. It's kind of rough for the first week if you don't do it. It's kind of an adjustment, but kind of already, adjusted to that schedule of getting to bed at a relatively good time. So, to get up early for practice and stuff.
Nice. I like how you tied your current college training routine to your routine and training from high school. Regarding your running journey, I actually wanted to ask you when and why you decided to get started with running.
Yeah, so I played a bunch of sports. I played soccer, basketball, baseball. I used to wrestle too for a bit. But in middle school, I just found it to become easy for me. And a lot of the sports, we had conditioning days or sprint days, and I would always be near the front and always be the least tired. So I was like, oh, I'll try it out. And middle school cross country is, not that much. The most we did was 2 miles, I think. But in track, it was interesting because I started off with doing a bunch of stuff. I did the hurdles at one point. I was throwing shot put. Clearly, I'm not a great shot putter. That was a week-long adventure, but I found that I did better in the longer distance stuff. I did the mile, and then kind of in high school, too. I was convinced I was a baseball guy, which is funny. I played travel ball all my life, and I was pretty good. I was a pitcher, but I did cross-country my freshman year to stay fit for baseball, and I ended up breaking my ankle, and then Sam and Phil convinced me to come to winter training because baseball was a spring sport, and ended up working my way through the ranks and ended up running 4:37 in the miles as a freshman in high school. So I was like, I'll probably stick with this one.
Yeah. For anyone listening, the salmon field he referred to are his and mine, both of our cross-country coaches during high school. So, yeah, really nice how you found your groove in the beginning of your high school career and everything just took off from there. Before we start talking about your high school career, I'd like to have a brief overview of your day is like since you've been running and doing school basically your entire life.
Right.
So I'm just curious, you probably have a routine right now.
Yeah, so every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have practice at 7 a.m. So I'm up. I wake up, just go to practice, like normal stuff in the morning, practice, and then I'll just do a Tuesday because that's probably like my busiest day. So I wake up, we have a 6:30 practice, so I have to be at our meeting spot at 6:30, do some type of track workout or some type of workout. Since it's cross, we're doing kind of longer stuff, so maybe like a 6 to 8 mile sub T. So sub T, kind of a pace that's difficult, but you can maintain. For me, that's about starting around 5:30 and getting down to like the 5 teens, and you just kind of like just keep doing it continuously and trying to find a rhythm, and that's really good for cross because there's longer races. And then usually go to weights right after. Weights is at 9 for me and my team, so we do weights from 9 to 10, just range of motion stuff. Sometimes we've been getting into hang cleans a little bit. Hang cleans are really important for your body function. It's really important to kind of stack your body properly when running, and hang cleans do that. And then I go to the athletic office. I currently work. I'm an internship at the athletic office at Sac State on the marketing team. So I go there for an hour-ish from like 10:30 to like 11:30. Then I have class from noon to 1:15, my digital marketing class. And then I have some time to relax. So I usually come home and eat and maybe get some homework done. And then I'm in a couple of PM classes. So my PM class that day is 6 to 7:15 PM. And then get home, eat dinner, relax, see what's going on with the guys in the house or whatever is going on. So that's a typical day for me.
You mentioned you'd like to watch football. Have you been keeping along with your school's football season so far?
Yes, so actually with the marketing program, I've been lucky enough to be the head of the student section at the Sac State football game. So I'm in the front row with the signs telling people what to do, starting cheers, and it's been really cool just to kind of like see my friends up in the stands and like they're rooting for me, and it's just really good work experience for my future job, hopefully, which I think we get to later. I'll save that for later.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's nice to hear what your routine's like. Now I'd like to take a little flashback and talk about your high school career. I went to your high school, St. Francis High School in Mountain View, California. Go Lancers. And you had one of the best running careers out of most, if not all of our team's alumni history, whether it's attending NXN as a sophomore, setting the school 4x16 record as a junior, and achieving PRs of 15:30 to 15:40s in every cross-country distance by your senior year. You had a great career by just judging the data. Can you walk me through some of your highlights and sometimes lowlights and basically like your favorite moments when you think back on high school?
Yeah, of course. So I'll start with the low because I like to end on a positive note always. Obviously, freshman year, I had a stress fracture in my tibia. I really trained like, I think 3 or 4 weeks my freshman year, and then tried to go to Crystal Springs, and I think I ended up running like 20 minutes or something like that, which was at the time like 3 weeks of training. But then a highlight, I guess, would be like coming back a year later, and then I think I ran like 15:56, 15:57. That same like 1 year later at that same course, and it was just really cool to see how much progress I made from freshman year and stuff. And I think just like all the trips I went on with the guys, that 2017, my sophomore year cross-country team was pretty special. As you've mentioned, we broke the meet record at every single course we went to, winning state, going to nationals, but just kind of like even the Arcadia trips that we went to, which you also mentioned, I was fortunate enough to be on the 4x mile record team. Unfortunately, my senior year got cut due to COVID and stuff, but I will say the DMR team that we had going that year would have been me, probably you, and the JP, so I think we would have had a good chance at breaking that record also. But those are just some of like the highs and the lows and stuff.
Nice, good to hear. You were always one of the most important members of your team, even as far back as your first real cross-country season, your sophomore year. You scored at probably the most important races your sophomore year. Could you walk me through how you felt racing at like some of the biggest meets like Clovis, NXN, and Crystal Springs?
Yeah, so it was a pretty interesting year because there's a guy named Narain who was kind of like the seventh guy, and we went to Pacific Tiger, and I had a very good race that day, and I ended up beating him and was able to kind of secure my spot on the varsity top seven. And what I say to everyone was that team was 14 deep. Our varsity B team was rolling up other people's A's team. I mean, any one of those 14 guys could have been on varsity, and it would have been fun. Obviously, that year was like Sham, Colton, Eric, Mason, like it was very talented. Everyone going to Division I level programs. Sham getting what was like 37th at NXN. Like that is a top end talent, and so just having those guys kind of like keep me calm, because there's definitely nerve wracking. I mean, first time on varsity, and you go into a state meet that you're projected to almost win and potentially go to the national meet. Just being told like it's just another day. That definitely helped me kind of stay calm, because I definitely let it get to me the night before. But I had a really nice talk with Danny Scahill. Me and Danny Scahill were kind of like really close on that team. We were kind of like the 5, 6, 7, and then Mason was switched, but we kind of bonded over that. There's a couple of track meets in the spring that unfortunately didn't get the nod to, so we kind of like worked out together 24/7. We ran with each other on recovery runs. We ran with everyone, but we kind of just had that like little bond. So he kind of helped me calm down a little bit the night before, and then kind of that day, Sean had a really good speech on the line, and it just like fired us up to make us run through a wall. And I remember that race, the state race. It was us in Dublin, and I saw a couple Dublin guys ahead of me, and I had no idea where I was for the team, but I just knew that the whole thing was, if we get 5 guys in front of their 5 guys, we win the race. That's how cross country works, right? So I saw two Dublin guys, and I beat them both. I didn't know where I was, and it turns out we put 5 in front of their 4, I think, or something like that. It was like we pretty much destroyed them, and it was really cool just to like be in that award ceremony with the guys and all the family around, and just be on the podium and stuff. So yeah, and then NXN kind of for us was an important race, but there was no real expectations. We were at large bid coming in. I think we were ranked in the 20s solely because we were an at large bid. So we were just kind of, I guess, underrated. We thought that we should have been ranked higher because we had faster times than some of the Midwest teams, for example, or any of the teams. And we ended up getting 9th, and that was that. And it was a really cool experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to say now, I had the pleasure at a lot of our alumni meets to meet you and most of the dream team, as some like to say. And I'm going to ask you a question later about who your role model runners were, but I just want to say that getting to talk with you, getting to meet other people like JP and Mr. Garcia and Mr. Scahill, getting to meet people like you guys are what I would say are the answer to those questions, like being my model runners.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
So moving on from high school, I'd like to talk about the in-between area between college and high school running, the college recruitment process. What attracted you to Sacramento State University compared to your other schools regarding student life, athletics, academics, and how did COVID affect everything?
Yeah, so obviously COVID had a big factor, kind of just in general about like school. But for me personally, I was fortunate, and I say unfortunate because it was a blessing. The reason why I chose Sac State, the first day, I think it's after your junior year, the first day of summer, when coaches could reach out. Coach Braun, who was my coach at that time, the coach for Sac State, reached out instantly. Like Coach Phil and Coach Sam, first run, we're a mile in, and they said, "Hey, there's a coach that wants to reach out. Is it okay if we give them your email and phone number?" I said, "Of course." And at the time, I was just running, and obviously I knew I was pretty decent, but I didn't understand the severity of how impactful that kind of sophomore cross-country season was. So then, coaches started reaching out. He was very consistent. Every 2 weeks he'd ask, how's training, how's the race. I was able to meet him at some of the races, and I was talking to a couple other schools. There's just a couple things that I didn't mind. I was looking at St. Ed's, it's a D2 school, and Austin, it's on the other side. I really liked Austin as a city, but it was a lot of concrete in the city. Sacramento has a beautiful river right next to it with dirt everywhere. The campus is beautiful. On my official visit, I met obviously some of the advisors and some of my future teachers in the kinesiology department, and they were all very kind and welcoming. But in regards to COVID, it didn't really mess up much for my commitment because I committed super early. I committed in cross. It was like November. I committed, so I was kind of already set. I was already accepted into Sac State, and at that point, my senior year in track, I was just going to show the coaches at Sac State, but also the other schools that may have overlooked me, like, hey, this is what you missed out on. And obviously didn't really happen, but that first race I made was fun. We did a 2 mile and a mile. I ran a PR by like 0.1 second, and then I ran 940 pretty much on my own, and that was really cool to see that I could do that on my own and stuff. So
nice. Blazing. All right. You mentioned throughout the interview about your projects and internships with digital marketing and the athletic department at Sac State, and you also mentioned something about kinesiology just now. What's your major, and how are you liking that so far?
So originally I was an kinesiology exercise science major. I wanted to be PT. I think the human body is really cool, and I think anatomy is very interesting. Took a couple science classes, some of the more like basic chemistry and bio, and just wasn't for me. Like, I still do get the kinesiology classes that are anatomy. It's just like some of the bio stuff I didn't really need, and I didn't think was important for my like future and stuff. Obviously it's very important. So now I'm athletic administration with a minor in it's a school business, but it's a marketing focus, so major minor. It's been very good ever since I switched sophomore year. My first semester of sophomore year, I did like it's been fun because I gotten to see like the kind of like the school side of things, and at the time that's kind of where I wanted to be. And obviously with my marketing internship, I kind of want to shift again. I kind of want to stay in the sports realm and stuff, ideally on a sports team somewhere in the marketing department, whether that's in the office, on the field, or with operations. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with that.
Nice to hear how your academic career is going so far. Lots of well-rounded studies in many different fields as far as I can tell. So I'd like to move on back to your athletic running career. Do you think you could give like a similar brief rundown of your college career like you did to your high school career?
Yeah, of course. So came in freshman year. It was still COVID times. So we had a cross country season, but it didn't count my freshman year. It was in February. They told us that cross country isn't happening. So by November we were training for track, getting ready for on the track, and we came back from New Year's and they said, hey, we're gonna have a cross country season. So we were all like pretty much ready for like a mile, 1500, 5K. And then they told us, hey, in like a month, we're going to have you guys be running 8Ks again. And it's like, okay. So we tried to jump back on the cross country. And the thing about cross country, which you obviously know, it takes a while. There's most of the time the summer training, kind of a build up. The goal is to kind of make whatever distance you're racing feel short. So, the accumulation of miles, and we were kind of in like short, faster stuff and not like the longer tempo workouts. So as a freshman, I mean, there wasn't really many expectations for me. The first race was horrendous. I ran, I think, a 5:10 first mile, and then I ended up running almost 28 minutes, which was the jump from high school to college is 5K to 8K, which is about 2 miles difference. So just imagine running your 5K PR through 5K and then having to think about running another 2 miles. Not fun at the start, but you get used to it after a while. And the 8K is not easy, but you definitely get more adjusted and you start to be able to run faster. Sophomore year was pretty good. We had I started to kind of succeed in stuff with the coach I had at the time, and ran my first 10K, and I think I was like 31:30. So not too bad for my first 10K. I'm on the track. Then that coach ended up leaving, so we got a new coach, Coach Delaney, who's not my coach now. We have a couple coaches, but that was a really good year. I ended up running 5th all time at the outdoor cross country regionals. Then in the indoor, I ran 7th all time, the indoor 5K, and then went back to outdoor track, and at Mount Sac, I ran the 5th fastest time in school history for the outdoor 10K. So had a lot of success. She showed me things and made me do things that I didn't think were possible, which is a really cool feeling when you don't know what your future holds, but when you start to get to that future and you start seeing how good things can be if you just kind of, keep your head down and train and like do what you're supposed to do and stuff. And then she unfortunately left. She got a job at UCLA, now at Columbia. So I've had this coach Cade, for 2 years now. It's going good. It's very similar training to last year. Coach Delaney's training, and obviously I've had a couple injuries, so it's been less than ideal on the injury side of things, but I think given all the injuries I've had, I've been able to take advantage of what I can.
Nice. Thank you for sharing all that. You've definitely been through like a really crazy roller coaster of training.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think you could share with me like your favorite moments of your college career, like what you think you'll remember when you're like 50, 60, maybe even 70 years older?
So obviously I just mentioned the 10K at Mountain Sac. That was a really good one. Me and my training partner at the time, he's now he's going to be an eye doctor. He's in Chicago doing school there right now for that. But we trained every day together. He was my roommate. We both kind of struggled a little bit in the summer, and then we had a really good race and in cross country, and we kind of just hit it off from there with the momentum. We traveled together, went to all the meets together, did the same events, and just running that well with him by my side. And then just after the fact, like being on the track, like realizing what the heck I just did, and it's like, wow, pretty good. And then like crossing the line, and then turn around to seeing him run a massive PR in top 10 all time, and having two distance guys in the top 10 all time in one race is pretty surreal. Division I program, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was very fun watching you run fast. Coach would mention sometimes like you were always near the front of your packets at Sac State, so you've definitely made our community keep our eyes on you and your career. What have been you've mentioned both your cross and track career, and I'm just curious, as a runner myself, like what do you prefer, cross country or track?
I'm a cross guy. I was recruited for cross, but I would say that I have had more success in cross country and more fun. I would like to say I'm a distance runner, and the longer the better, but I do like the cross country aspect because I liked it more because of the team aspect. Obviously in track, when you're at meets, when you win a race you get points, but there's a lot more alone time where it's just on you. Whereas in cross, you're racing with 6 other guys on the line, and they're also racing with 6 other guys on the line. So it's not like you're not racing for your teammates in track, but I find it easier to kind of see them in the race and be like, okay, like we're together, we're one team, and just kind of like us versus everyone else kind of mentality.
Nice. I completely agree with you on that cross-country statement, and especially regarding what you believe regarding the team aspect. That's so true. Regarding your relationships with other runners, who would you say are your role model runners? People that like inspire you regarding running, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'd say probably in the early days, just the guys on the team. When I was a sophomore, all those seniors, Sham, Eric, I also really looked up to Narain because I fortunately took his spot, and he did everything he could, and he still did everything for the team. He went and won the JV race by a landslide, and it was really cool to see that. Eric Ng, always just a really good guy. Colton, Mason, Danny, even JP and Ewan. I mean, JP committed to Cal. Ewan was going to Wake Forest, and Benny even. I mean, he was kind of like with that kind of senior group and stuff. And then that's just kind of like that. But in the professional world, I kind of look up to someone. His name is Reed Fisher. He's a Tin Man guy. Tin Man Elite is a running group out of Colorado. They're Adidas based. Sac State is also Adidas, so it was cool. My freshman year, Coach Braun, had one of the guys at the time who was on the team, Sydney Gudabay, come, and we did a Zoom and we asked questions, and ever since then I've been a huge fan of those guys. And he just doesn't really like to talk. He kind of likes to let the actions do the talking. Obviously, I think of like Josh Kerr and Jakob Ingebrigtsen, very, very talented. They do talk a lot. It's different when you're with your guys and stuff, messing around, but when you're in a public interview, I try to keep it humble, and you never know, the one guy that you don't think could be going, could be the guy that beat you that day. So
I like how you mentioned Josh Kerr and Jakob Ingebrigtsen. That kind of has to do with my next question for you. After running at the top of California and West Coast athletics for almost a decade, who have become your biggest friendly rivals and most common competitors similar to Josh, Karen, Jakob, but
Yeah,
maybe
right.
a little bit more friendly?
So, there's no one like I wouldn't say I have any rivals, but once you go to the same meets every year, you kind of see the same teams there, same invites, different years. Obviously, there's freshmen that come in. We see Davis at a lot of the meets. We see UC Riverside a lot, just off the top of my head. A bunch of the UC schools go to the same meets, but like obviously we see the Big Sky teams at conference and regionals because we're the West region and stuff.
So now that you've gone through a bunch of the competition and venues in your NCAA running, I'm just curious, do you think that any one of your fellow West Region runners and teams will take the crown and win, or at least go really far in this year's cross-country championships?
Yes, I think BYU is going to win the national championship. They just went to Dellinger and swept everyone and made everyone look a little silly, to be honest. Casey Klinger at the front of that group. But I do not think that the individual champion is going to be coming from the West. I think it's going to be Parker Wolf from North Carolina, taking it home. Olympian, why not? I love him. He's a hard racer, hard worker. So I'll be rooting for Parker Wolf.
Yeah, I bet Coach Sam will be happy to see that happen. Yeah, he's always mentioning him at practice, his Tar Heels. All right. Going back to this summer, the Olympics, honestly, the track hype was probably the biggest it's ever been, at least in a while.
Yeah.
What Olympic events were your favorite to watch this summer, and who were your favorite athletes to watch and root for?
So I'd say the 1500 and 5K. Also, the 10K was fun to watch. Grant Fisher is just unbelievable. He was in an interview talking about how he purposely did all of his hard workouts on his own, which sounds crazy, which it is, but if you think about it, it's really, really smart because when he was really deep down in the trenches and kind of almost, feeling sorry for himself, he was like kind of had himself, and that's really it. So I think that really helped him in that 10K when things got real. He got realer, obviously. I mean, he didn't win, obviously, but just seeing an American medal in the 10K is just out of this world. And then coming back in the 5K, and then 1500, like I was talking about earlier, Jakob and Josh talking back and forth, and Wyatt Cole Harker came in and surprised everyone. I wasn't surprised, but we had some Americans up there too, so that was nice to see.
Yeah, it's great seeing American distance runners thrive in this era.
Mm-hmm.
So as we start ending this episode, I just want to start giving you some questions for like key takeaways and whatnot for any listeners. What's the biggest lesson or piece of advice you have for any runner listening to this?
I would say just trust yourself. It's a big thing for me. Obviously, I was very successful and I was very fortunate to be where I am today, but it wouldn't have happened without all the hard work that you have to put in yourself. Even when I was on that 2017 team, it was a battle every day. Every workout, every recovery run, it was, how am I going to keep my spot on this team? There was 4 guys ready to go. So kind of just like stay on your toes and stay ready and be ready and take advantage of every opportunity you can, because you don't know when the next one will come.
Wow. Yeah, I completely agree, and I appreciate your insight right there. Unfortunately, you've had a lot of injuries in your career, and I'm just curious, what do you think should be the biggest takeaway and lesson from any runner dealing with injuries?
Yeah, I think injuries are an interesting thing. I think for me personally, I think it's not whether if, it's a matter of when and how bad you get injured if you run for a certain amount of time. Obviously, I've had some that are a little longer, and it sucks to not be with your guys, but kind of like stay kind of active in the brain, even in the legs. Like I'd bike, I'd swim, and like if you're really trying to do something with running and your legs are preventing you, find other ways. Cross training is a really good way. Lift weights. There's plenty of other ways to stay active and stay fit and be around your team still. If you're on a team, show up to the workouts, be happy for them. Not more of a competition, but more of a team. Like, I'm happy for my teammate who did this, not, oh man, this guy is overtaking me. It's like, just be happy for them because they should be happy for you. That's how a team should work. Everyone should be happy for each other. And just do whatever you need to do. Stretch, roll, ice, eat properly. Sleep is a very big thing. Sleep is very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to push back on any of that. I'm here not only like asking questions, but also learning from you. So I really appreciate all this insight.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So my final question for you today, it's not necessarily related to running or athletics, but I'd like to ask it to all my guests. If you could learn any new skill immediately, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say the ability to look in the future, but not too far, like 2 or 3 weeks. There's some times when you don't think that you can do something, and the future looks like very slim, and the hill that you're about to climb looks very steep, and sometimes it almost looks like you're going backwards and stuff, and it might seem impossible, but if you just take it step by step and just learn from the mistakes in the past, but also if you start hitting those little milestones, the little milestones will become that mountain that you need to climb. So just kind of like knowing what's going to happen so you can kind of prepare yourself for the best possible outcome.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Maddison.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
When's your next race?
Santa Clara. It's coming up this Saturday. It's coming Saturday.
Bronco invite?
Hope to see you there.
Yeah, I'll be in the open race, and I'll be making sure to watch your race as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. Good luck.